Each year, I suspect some 100,000 recipes are published worldwide via books, periodicals, the internet, and of course, television. Add to that the billions of cookbooks written since the first English language cookbook titled This is the Book of Cookery, where beginneth a noble book of feasts royal, a book for princes, households, or any other estates, was first published in 1500. And I figure that the planetary recipe collection is something like, I don't know, 6 gajillion. Even if you tried, say, 1 billion recipes and liked 1 million of them, you'd still need 1,000 big 3-ring notebooks to hold them all and a staff of 100 to manage the data input. I know. I've tried. I have found that the only way to face this onslaught without going insane is to maintain a core cuisine all my own. The applications, or how do you say, recipes, on these cards I have committed to memory so that I can pull them out at a moment's notice with neither thought nor hesitation. I keep the cards only to record the occasional change, improvement, and augmentations that may come about. Here's one that has never been futzed with. Simple, versatile, universal. What does it make? You know, I'm not going to tell you, because if you're a loyal Good Eats fan, you should be able to figure it out. I will tell you one thing, though. The results are nothing if not. All right, fair viewers, are you ready for my most favoritist memorized recipe? Very well. As you can see, simplicity. 2 large eggs, 1 cup of whole milk, 4 3/4 ounces of all-purpose flour. That's by weight, would be a cup by volume. A tablespoon of butter melted and 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, all at room temperature. So what do we have? Well, as you can tell by the high liquid-to-dry ratio, this is a batter, and a very wet one at that. That means it will be capable of generating a large amount of steam. Now, because it expands so dramatically and carries so much energy with it, steam is ideally suited to performing work. In fact, steam can power massive factories, drive nuclear submarines, generate electricity, and propel this amazingly cool steam-powered robot. Tokyo's that way, big guy. So, what else do we know? Well, we know that the batter contains 2 structural elements, or what we call strengtheners, the proteins in the egg whites and the starch in the flour. Of course, different types of flour also contain different amounts of protein, so which flour you buy matters. You know, in a way, flours are like weightlifters, okay? Now, let's take a low-protein flour like pastry flour. It is structurally very, very weak, and baked goods that it produces are extremely tender. Hey, you remember when the mommy deer dies in Bambi? Go get yourself a hanky. All right, high-protein flours, on the other hand, like bread flour, produce structures that are strong and tough. Watch this. Hey, you remember the last 5 minutes of Old Yeller? No? Okay, what about Brian's song? Wow. That is tough. And that would be great if we were dealing with a high gluten dough like you would put into a French baguette, you know? That's not where our ingredient list is leading us today. No, today we need the perfect mixture of both worlds. We need a flour that is strong but tender, like, say, all-purpose flour. Okay, you remember, when Jim Brown gets gunned down at the end of the Dirty Dozen? No? Okay. How about the end of Tombstone, when Doc Holliday's dying of TB in that sanitarium and he says, "What if you were ever my friend? Leave and don't come back." Remember? 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 See? Strong but tender. That's all-purpose flour, and it's perfect for this application. Hang in there, big guy. While we're on the subject of strong and tender, let's consider eggs, the perfect food. They are tenderizers, of course, because of the fat content of the yolk, and they are strengtheners because of the powerful and flexible proteins contained in the whites, or albumins. just as we suspected, a batter. But now that we have it, what do you think we can make with it? Sorry. A cake, perhaps? No, there's nowhere near enough fat in there. And besides, cake batters usually contain more flour than moisture. Pancakes? Nah, no leavening. Or is there? As you can see in this microscopic view, there are bubbles. Plenty of them, albeit small. You know, if one was to apply high, fast heat to this, all that water might just turn to steam and quickly expand inside the batter. And if the egg proteins were to coagulate and the starches in the flour gelatinize and the milk sugars caramelize at just the right time, well, what do you think? Yeah? Okay, then. Okay, what did we learn? This batter is too stiff and thick to be a crepe, but not thick enough to really be anything else. It seems that too much surface area may have dissipated any lift the mixture may have commanded. What's next? W, I need a pan.
All right, you're obnoxious and tiring.
Actually, I wasn't thinking so much of a critical review as I was a cooking implement.
Well, what kind of pan?
You know, I'd rather not say.
Well, what are you cooking?
Well, that I can tell you. I'm cooking 2 eggs, 1 cup of whole milk, 4 3/4 ounces by weight of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of melted butter, and a teaspoon and a half of kosher salt, blended.
You want a crepe pan?
Crepes? 2 eggs and 1 tablespoon of butter? I think not. Look, I need something that can absorb heat quickly and provide a launching pad for vertical velocity. Yeah, okay, vertical.
Ah, you're gonna make...
Don't say it, just lead the way.
I think this may be what you're looking for.
Oh, these are funky-looking muffin tins.
Only the cups are deeper with steeper sides.
Right, heavy, too.
For better heat absorption. Oh, and notice on this pan, the cups pop out for easy cleaning, or you can use it as molds for other things. In other words, a multitasker.
Oh, I like that.
I also have it in a heat-resistant non-stick silicone model.
Wow, that's certainly fun to play with. But, you know, silicone is technically an insulator, so that's probably not going to do the thermal job that I need. And this is very nice, but that non-stick surface is dark, and it tends to lead to over-browning on the food. So I think I'm just going to go with this standard guy. Besides, you see the shape of this lip? That's going to make a very pretty... Oh, yeah, you're right. I almost said...
Quiet!
Yeah, I get it. You don't have to keep doing it. Our hot box is set to 400 degrees, and I have lubed the cups of the pan with a little bit of butter. Now, since we're expecting quite a bit of expansion, I dare not fill these more than halfway. Oh, and I should say, although we've taken certain liberties with timing for the sake of television, you would not want to whip up this batter until the oven and the pan are ready to go. And I'll tell you right now, that flies in the face of the opinions of many recipe writers who insist on letting the batter sit for
2 hours at room temperature.
Overnight in the refrigerator.
2 days under the bed in the guest room.
You know, this particular application is best suited to immediate baking.
You won't get enough gluten.
I don't want much gluten.
Your flour won't be hydrated.
Yes, I know that, but you know what? If I wait, I lose all of my bubbles.
These are going to be terrible, Pop.
Right into the middle of a 400-degree oven for 40 minutes. And no peeking, or you will impede your inflation. Don't you people have your own kitchen? Go on, get out of here. So, knowing what we know about milk, eggs, flour, and the ratio therein, what can we hypothesize about what's going on in there right now? Well, I think it is safe to say that the high heat of the oven is rapidly penetrating the metal cups, causing the batter at the sides and bottom to rapidly set. A process aided by the fact that we started with room temperature rather than cold ingredients. Now, This traps the batter bubbles, which begin to expand in the only direction they can go, upward. Now, here's the cool part. The ratio of liquid to starch and protein is balanced so that as the top of the rising batter sets and splits and sets and splits, just enough downward pressure is produced to force the bubbles inside to fuse together into one uber bubble. This bubble continues to push up and out, stretching what is essentially a hollow blister until equilibrium is reached between the expansion of the steam and the elasticity of the batter, which then sets in the final expanded position. We call the resulting devices popovers. If there's a more versatile baked good on the planet, I don't know what it is. Get it? Popover, oh, never mind. Beautiful, aren't they? But if their lofty countenance is to continue, we must act quickly. Come, darlings. Behold the beautiful paradox of the popover. The outside is crunchy, golden brown, and delicious because, of course, the proteins and starches were cooked by the dry heat of the oven. Inside, however, it is a different story. The inner walls of this big bubble are soft and moist, and that's because steam did the cooking. But this can also become a problem. If this moisture remains inside, it'll eventually condense and turn gooey. So it is important that as soon as you can handle these things, that you vent them. Just find a little crag in the top and kind of punch a little hole in it with a paring knife or a skewer. That'll allow that excess vapor to go out. And that'll keep these shelves stable for, well, at least a couple of days if they are sealed in a plastic bag. Now, those of you unfamiliar with popovers may be wondering, what's so great about a big hollow dinner roll? Well, for one thing, popovers are delicious, and since they are fast, they are a fantastic replacement for dinner rolls, which are usually heavy, not to mention time-consuming. But because popovers are hollow on the inside, they can house a host of things. Perhaps you'd like to butter one up and fill it with a luscious broth, or perhaps a chicken salad or chocolate pudding, lemon curd. That's a great idea. Fruit, why not? In other words, a popover is a bread, it is a serving vessel, it is both. Now, this amazingly convenient device, not too surprisingly, is an American invention, but it was born of old English ancestors. You know, food words are funny things. Did you know that in modern-day England, the word pudding doesn't always mean pudding per se? In fact, it can refer to any dessert item. That certainly sheds some light on this mysterious Pink Floydism.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
But there was a time when pudding meant just about anything that was boiled or baked. Now, in his 1577 blockbuster, A Description of England, William Harrison wrote, each part of the country has its own puddings. Devonshire, White Cloud, Gloucester bag pudding, Hampshire, hasty pudding, Worcestershire, black pudding, and Yorkshire pudding. Yorkshire, of course, a region on the northeastern coast, just below Northumbria. Now, back in the Middle Ages, up in these parts, meat, fresh meat at least, was actually pretty hard to find.
Especially since Father went to the gallows for poaching a hare in Sherwood Forest.
Oh, that's very sad. When large critter hunks or joints were available, they were generally cooked on a spit, not over the fire, but just in front of it. Flavorful drippings, just rendered fat, were captured in a pan here on the hearth. Now, somewhere along the way, a thrifty cook figured out that a little meat would seem to go a lot further if it was served with something else that was, well, kind of meaty. So the pan with the fat was placed onto the fire, and when the fat sizzled, a batter was poured directly onto it and baked. Now, let's go take a look at an authentic 18th century recipe for Yorkshire pudding. Keep turning, kid. It ain't done yet. 4 eggs, 2 cups of milk, 9 ounces of flour. That's 2 cups for the volumetrically minded. A teaspoon and a half of kosher salt and a 1/4 cup of meat drippings, 2 tablespoons of which will be left in the pan. In other words, it is almost exactly double everything in our popover procedure. The only real difference is the use of drippings instead of butter. Of course, we could use butter instead of drippings, but then we wouldn't be making Yorkshire pudding, now would we? First, the meat. Here we have a nice 3-bone standing rib roast. Very nice. Now, technically, any roast fatty enough to give you a few tablespoons of drippings will do. But beef or lamb or mutton, if you could get it, are indeed preferable. Now, as you extract the meaty goodness, go ahead and boost your box to 400. The meat will, of course, need to rest, so shift it over to a cutting board and cover it with a nice big piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil. That will certainly keep it warm while the Yorkshire pudding bakes. Now, you're going to probably have 1/4 cup of drippings left. 2 tablespoons of that, and that's 1 ounce, will need to go directly into the blender. Whatever remains in the pan can go back into the oven, but you're going to want to move the rack up to the middle position before reinserting the pan. And odds are, as this gets hot, it's going to create a little smoke. That's okay. It's completely normal. As to the batter, 2 cups of whole milk at room temperature are followed by 4 large eggs, also at room temperature. 9 ounces of all-purpose flour, that's 2 cups by volume, and of course 1½ teaspoons of kosher salt go in. Lid that up and let it blend for about 30 seconds until it's nice and fluffy and frothy. You may have to scrape down the craft depending on the design of your particular model. There. Now, carefully pour in the batter and bake for 35 to 40 minutes or until the device is puffy and golden brown. And again, no door opening, lest deflation be your aim. Now, 'tis best to work quickly. As soon as the Yorkshire pudding is out, go ahead and cut your roast beast. I do like a standing rib roast, and I like to leave the bones intact so that you've got something to hold on to. Now see, this ought to be just enough for 2 people. Yeah, that's good. Traditionally, Yorkshire pudding is cut into squares, but I prefer to just tear off chunks of it and serve it alongside slabs o' beast.
So, what's for pudding?
Oh, this is the pudding.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but that's another show.
You always say that.
Eat your dinner. Popovers make a great luncheon item, and of course, Yorkshire pudding, classic supper dish. But what of breakfast? Well, have you ever munched down on a Dutch baby?
Hold der probat on legend baby to Etten.
Did you see the feet on that? Never mind, doesn't matter. Supposedly, the term Dutch baby was coined by original pancake house owner Lester Hyatt, who was trying to think up a new name for a dish based on German pancakes. Now, the parts list for our version, as you can see, is just a little bit different than our popover. We have 2 large eggs still, but we've cut back on the milk to only ½ a cup, okay? And we've cut the flour down to 2 3/8 ounces by weight. Don't worry, that's ½ a cup by volume. That's easier. We've got ½ a teaspoon of kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of butter, melted, and count them, 3 tablespoons of sugar. Now, place 2 tablespoons of the melted butter in a 10-inch cast iron skillet and stash in a 375-degree oven. Let it heat for 10 minutes before building the rest of the Dutch, well, you know. Plain old sugar is certainly fine, but if you happen to set aside some sugar in which you stash 1, 2, or maybe 3 vanilla beans for a few weeks, you would have vanilla sugar, which would be a very nice touch indeed. Into the pan. 30 to 35 minutes will do the trick. Now that is a beautiful baby. Cut into wedges, adorned with additional sugar if you like, and a bit of lemon juice is nice. Just squeeze it on. Ridiculously delicious. So, as you can see, this one simple application can easily and quickly morph from breakfast to lunch to dinner. It is a true multitasker, and a tasty one at that. Okay, just to make sure you've memorized it, read it back to me. Come on, all of you. Good, good, good. Okay, good for everyone except you, Mr. Thompson in Boca Raton. Don't think I didn't hear that. See you next time on Good Eats.